You co-authored a piece for the conversation called Young People Are Anxious About Coronavirus. Political leaders need to talk with them, not at them. So firstly, can you tell us a bit about that article? Like what were some of the key messages in that article, and what motivated you to be a co-author on that article?
Yeah, so for this article, I was approached by Dr. Melissa Kang, who is the lead author on that article. She had asked me to sort of give my opinions on what it's like being a young person during a pandemic and what we feel about the government's messaging. This was particularly early on in the pandemic. I think it's gotten a lot better now, but early on in the pandemic, there was a lot of conflicting messages, and I think nothing particularly directed to young people. So she had asked me for my opinions on that, and I had given her my opinions, and all of that sort of ended up in the article. But I also, at one point, because I'm a member of this advisory committee on the New South Wales Health, so the Ministry of Health. In this committee, I basically represent the youth of New South Wales, and we talk about issues that young people face. Because I have this role, the ministry had asked me to go out and do some consultations with young people and, try and find out how young people feel about the pandemic, what the government has been doing for young people during this pandemic, and so on. So I was really excited to do this because I really wanted to know how people felt about it and how the government can help. So I took this seriously and I did as many consultations as I could. And we've now written an article about it, and it's being published on a website. So I think that, so I should mention as well, this work has been done through the Wellbeing, Health and Youth Commission, which is a commission I'm part of that's associated with Western Sydney University. And I'd like to give a shout out to the commission members. And so they basically helped me do the consultations and for my report that I presented to the Ministry of Health and now is published on the website as well.
Out of curiosity, what were some of the findings that you had in those consultations?
Yeah, so I think the main finding that I had was that young people are very anxious. That's kind of obvious. They're very anxious for their future because of how things have played out this year. Even though Australia has been really fortunate, we live in a country that has handled the pandemic really well. One of the biggest concerns is the economic fallout of this pandemic. We're not going to be immune to it. And I think a lot of young people are worried about the workforce they're entering and how it impacts their future. So that was one of the major findings, I think. There are other findings as well, like immigrant families not being able to see each other because everyone's, separated in different countries. The mental health toll, particularly in the early stages of the pandemic when we were all isolated from each other. So there is a bunch of different things that I reported on, but definitely the anxiety of young people was the largest.